Well, hello there. It's your favourite fresh air junkie and science nerd, Nikki Hardy, and welcome to the Wildly Known Life podcast. This is a podcast that unearths the hidden power of nature to help us live happier, healthier, and more meaningful lives full of connection. Without further ado, let's dive in. Let's get wild. You know how your life can look like a pile of totally disconnected chapters? This job, that move, that weird season with the kids, the pottery classes you dropped after 6 months. And that might just be me. And then every now and then you look back at one of those seasons and you quietly wonder, what was that even about? What was the point of it? How does it all add up? Yep, me too, I've got to admit. Which weirdly makes me think of a tiny marsupial in the Australian Alps called the mountain pygmy possum. This thing is absolutely adorable. It's about the size of your palm, it's nocturnal, it's in danger, and honestly, oh my God, I want like 500 of these little things. When the Great Alpine Road was built on Mount Hotham in Australia, it cut straight through the little possum's habitat and split the poor population in two. One group of possums was stuck on one side, cut off from potential mates, from food, and the genetic diversity they needed to survive. And same story on the other side. The strip of asphalt between them could have been a canyon because possums don't cross busy highways. And if they try, well, I don't need to say that it doesn't usually end well. Ecologists have a name for this, not surprisingly. It's called habitat fragmentation. One connected ecosystem gets sliced into isolated patches, and the danger isn't just the thing that slices the population in two, the road or the new housing development, although these are dangerous in and of themselves. It's the isolation that causes the problem. What the species need is kind of right there, it's visible, it's just out of reach. So in Australia, the conservationists built the possums on Mount Hotham a little tunnel. It's small, it's unglamorous, and it's a tunnel that goes underneath the road, underneath the highway, and it's barely wide enough for one possum at a time. And I promise I'm not making this up, but the locals have nicknamed it the Tunnel of Love, because that's exactly what it did. It let the two cut-off populations find each other again. Isn't that just the sweetest thing? Conservationists call tunnels like this a stepping stone. It's not trying to be a possum habitat. It's definitely not the possum's final destination. It's just a small and deliberately placed link designed to reduce the isolation between the two real important places. And in Davis, California, they built a 6-inch tunnel so frogs could reach a wetland, and they called this the Toad Tunnel. In the UK, a similar tunnel meant for amphibians now gets used by hedgehogs as well. So it's full of hedgehogs and newts and frogs and toads. It's basically Piccadilly Circus if Piccadilly Circus were for toads and hedgehogs. What got my attention is that none of these stepping stones look like much at all. And maybe that's the point. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that one small step, one connection between two parts of our lives doesn't fix everything though. In Ede, in the Netherlands, toads had the same problem. Their highway fragmenting their habitat, cutting them off from their breeding pond. So researchers built them tunnels too, except they only built two, hundreds of meters apart. The toads spent their nights hopping up and down the roadside, looking and searching, and mostly never finding the crossing. Some gave up, some risked it all and risked the road, and of course, mostly lost. And within a few years, that population went from over 10,000 toads to under 1,000. The stepping stones only work if they're the right ones placed where they're actually needed. Otherwise, you just get a lot of hopping around that goes nowhere. When I look at my life, it still feels annoyingly fragmented. I studied zoology to be the next David Attenborough, but ended up in a marketing job in London, which I will tell you a story about later on. But I left that to go into teacher training, then I stayed home with the kids, then we moved to Charlotte to church plant, where I never really knew what my role even was, other than the kind of buy one, get one free that's normal when your husband is the pastor. And now somehow I am writing and speaking and leading retreats and pilgrimages. It all looks completely disjointed and it's hard to see where it's leading. But the possums and the toads have got me thinking differently about that. And I mentioned it a little bit in a different way in last week's episode. So you might want to go back and listen to that when you're done here. But it got me thinking that maybe my life isn't actually as fragmented as it feels. Maybe I've got more stepping stones between these seasons than I've given myself credit for. Maybe I just haven't always recognized them as stones because some of them looked too small to even matter at the time. And maybe there are stones I haven't stepped onto yet, sitting right there in front of me, perhaps waiting for me even to get up the courage to take that step. And maybe that's you too. Maybe you're in a season that, like I said last week, feels scattered or unfocused. A job loss or a new job in a new town, a move, a relationship that ended, or a version of you that you're not sure fits anymore. And you're wondering if any of it means anything or goes anywhere. And what on earth is God doing with all this pick and mix of things you've been doing? Not everything we do needs to be a stepping stone, but it's easy to mistake busyness for stepping stone hopping when it's actually just hopping around on the side of the road. New hobby, new class, 100 half-finished projects, a calendar so full you can't hear yourself think. Well, how do I know? Because sometimes I'm pretty much a professional toad. Busy, moving, going nowhere near the pond. So the question isn't, am I doing something? It's, is this actually pointed toward where I'm headed, or am I just filling time so it feels like progress? Which is exactly how I've thought about building the retreat at Lake James this September as a stepping stone for you. It's 2 nights, small, intimate on purpose, and it's time away to reflect, rest, connect with yourself and God in His creation, and discern the stepping stones in your life, and maybe gather what you need to take a step. You don't have to know what that is yet. You don't even need to know why you want to come. You just might know you need a next stepping stone. Registration's open now with an early bird discount rate, and the link is in the show notes or at nikkihardy.com. Okay, we're going to end as we always do with a simple, embodied, repeatable practice or prayer, or even an invitation to take into your day. And settling ourselves first with a centering prayer. And like I always say, it's great to get outside and into nature somehow for this. Maybe sitting on a park bench, maybe even just looking out of the window if you can't get outside right now. And so here's our centering prayer. And here, as we take time to be with God now, let's rest a moment in stillness, returning our wandering minds to His presence and responding with openness. Today, I've got 2 questions and a blessing. What's one season in your life that felt like nothing much at the time? Maybe one you've almost apologized for, that might actually have been a stepping stone you never really realized that it was. And is there a stepping stone in front of you now? Not the whole path, just the next one, that you've been waiting to feel ready enough to step onto. And here's a blessing to take into your day. May the fragments of your life be joined by an interconnected web of stepping stones, tunnels, and bridges. Where you're lost or frantically searching for where to step next, may you trust the one who lights the path just enough to show you. And as you stand at the edge, debating whether to step or stay, may you have the wisdom to know which it is, and the courage to step boldly into who you're becoming. Thanks for spending this time with me on the Wildly Known Life podcast. And it's growing quietly, mostly by word of mouth, thanks to people like you. So if this episode resonated with you, would you hit that follow button to make sure the algorithm sends you our best and next episodes to keep the conversations coming? And a short review, even just a sentence, is super helpful to help me, but also help others find their way to here too. Thanks so much. I also write at the Wildly Known Life on Substack, and it's often there that the deeper conversations happen. So the link's in the show notes, along with the retreat link for the Wildly Known Life retreat, September 18th through 20th. And I really hope to see you there. And as always, step outside, take a deep breath, drop your shoulders, and see what our wildly wonderful God has to say. Until next time, my friend, stay wild.